Welcome back, my gardening friends. Well, this is a January update on my progress and vegetable harvest. Now, I managed to get some more blocks to replace the ones in grey, so I'm going to replace those. That's all painted now, so that can be put along here ready to tie the net into or staple the net into. Last time we spoke, we were talking about how to mark the beds, how wide to have them, and I eventually decided to have 500mm paths and 4-foot beds. And after the comments, decided not to go north to south, but to carry on with them going from east to west. So it's worked out really well. As you can see there, path 1 comes to about there, so I'll be able to make a start on that one without disturbing the bed. That path there will have to wait until the autumn. This path sits smack bang in the middle of the existing. Again, I'll be able to take these out and put the boards in. I'll just ensure that the crops sit in a little bit this year. Just have a quick look at the broad beans while we're here. They're all tied up tight because we did have a forecast of maybe wet snow, so you don't want those bending over and damaging the stems too much, and luckily enough we only got rain. So there's bed 3, a path down the middle of what would have been bed 2, bed 4, and then a path again. So as you can see, I'll also be able to get that one in all the way to the end. Now, depending on the size of the planks, I would decide whether to have a path running down the middle. I'm not too worried about losing too much space, but it'll be trial and error until we get the planks. Now, I've ordered 50 scaffold boards. It looks like they've got a load ready for burning, so it looks like we've just caught them in time, and hopefully I can get them for £2.50 each, the full length ones. Rainbow chard, some of it's still doing well, some of it's not looking so healthy. I'll get them tidied up and we'll take a harvest from those today. So a big thank you for everyone who took the time to comment for suggestions, and I've took everything on board and decided to go this way. Now, another question that I do want to ask, I'm thinking about doing permanent beds for each crop. Instead of having a 4-year rotation, having the crops sat in the same place. So here along this section, furthest away from the other beds will be the beans, because they grow the tallest. Now, beans, some people have them in the same beds every year. So just your thoughts, what do you do? That's the way I want to go forward, but any comments would be really appreciated. In the onion cage, and we've been growing onions in here for quite a while because we haven't had any issues. So there with the Bedfordshire champions. There's Pete's Kelsey onions, the elephant garlic from my Curtis, and my red electric onions, which are all started to poke through. Any that don't come through, I'll replace with ones that I've got at home. Now, anybody that doesn't know, these last few barrels down here had more inserts in them to bring them up to this height for the long carrots and long parsnips. That didn't really work very well, so they've all been removed now. They're all covered up because I don't want the soil to get too wet, because I've got to sieve this over there and then refill the containers. And we've even got 4 or 5 dustbins there full to the top from these that were right full. These are the plants we took off one of the allotments that had rooted down. As you see, if the rain gets to this, it's just saturated, they'll never sieve, so I've covered most of them up. Hopefully that'll keep them happy. And if depending on whether I can get any more pallet collars, I've got a new source for those. This may end up being the straw bale garden down here, because we can't fit it in the other bed now because the beds fit so perfectly. The debris netting is 3 meters wide, and this cage, the brassica cage, is 6 meters. And in my playlist it shows you how I actually stitch that together, every hole stitched together using the sewing machine, and there's a video on my playlist showing that. Let's just move around to here. I've sorted all this compost out now, and it's surprising how much is there. And this was all the rubbish that I got out of it, the roots, etc. And that there was slightly better. And all this compost is what I find that's fly tipped on the side of the road by those unscrupulous growers. And because that area's full, I've had to, the next lot I found, I've had to put here. This was just tipped out into the ditch, so there's lots of bits of rubbish I've got to clear out. It doesn't take too long, everything else will just rot down. These planks of wood in the middle of the screen have been painted, and they're going around here because these old scaffold boards are just slightly going rotten, so I'm going to put more wood around here because I've got loads of soil and everything else spare. I want to keep it all together, so when I move this compost out the way, I can dig some of it in, bring some more soil in, and we'll just raise the bed slightly. That'll use all the wood up that I reclaimed from an old shed roof on another allotment that we had to take down. And there's some of the barrels from outside that we just spoke about. We can then bring these across here once I start to continue sieving. As you can see, keep sieving. That's got to be mixed up. Did that while it was raining yesterday. And the beds with the cardboard on top are the ones that have been completed. These 2 barrels in the corner, what I tried to grow my long carrots in, if you remember. And when we pulled them out, we was in hysterics. So that sand is being mixed with the rest, and I've just about managed to get most of this out now, but this is the next one that I'm filling up. I was thinking about taking these out and leveling them up to the same level as these, but you never know what I might want to do in the future. So we'll get these topped up as and when they're emptied and refilled again. Onions that I'm put to seed. This is the best red onion that I had. That's one of the Kelsey and another Kelsey, so I'm trying to get my own seed. It'll save me a little bit of money in the future. I'm going to move these planks now, and then we'll have a little look in the clamp to see what vegetables we can harvest today and see how they're doing. So I've undone all this now, and we've got several buckets of carrots, Nantus 5, and there's some sweet candle. I think I'll try a bucket of each today if I can find them. These are the carrots that I pulled out of the bed and put back into the compost, and they're still there. Well, you can see there. They're just let's have one out. Perhaps not that one. Let's have this one. It's just pulling a bit of moisture out of this compost, so I'll put it on the paint. So we'll have that today just as a trial. I wanted to see how well they lasted stored indoors compared to untouched in the bed. There are turnips and Swedes in here. Now I think they're better off left outside, but we will get one out. All this is my saved seed potatoes, so I'm not going to disturb those. I've just removed that tub. That's got some potatoes in. I'll try and get some potatoes out of that. But the Swedes, they're not doing well in here. There's rot on them and everything else, so I'm not even going to bother with these. I'll clear this out so it doesn't rot anymore, spoil anything else. But storing them in here, maybe not enough ventilation. Perhaps they just need to be stacked without compost around them, like the farmers do. They don't mess about. So yeah, we'll take that as a bit of a fail inside, but we'll definitely be able to harvest some Swedes from outside. So I'll drag some potatoes out of there. We've already got the sweet candle carrot from there, Nantus 5 and the sweet candles. I'll get those 2 tubs washed and see how they have stood up to being in buckets for so long. So these are the sweet candle on the left, sowed in June last year, and you can definitely see the difference because of the spacing, the different what you actually get. Now if you prefer smaller carrots and you don't mind scrubbing and peeling, that's fine, but these are my show carrots and eating carrots. And these are the Nantus 5 out of 1 bucket. They were sown in April, so they've done quite well. What do they look like when they've been washed? Got the worst of the compost off, but there is quite a few signs of damage from the carrot root fly, exactly the same on the sweet candles. You probably can't see it as well there, but there is quite a few that haven't survived very well. There's a selection of the potatoes out of that bag. I haven't got many, but I'll just keep dabbling in. We don't eat that many ourselves. So what I'll do now is set this up and keep adding to this vegetable harvest from around the allotment. So that's a nice little harvest. Got the Jerusalem artichokes there, the onion, and the others you recognise quite easily. The only thing we're missing is the leeks. Now Southpaw Davy Urban Farm made a comment about the leeks and how I were cutting them off above the roots, and suggested a different method which may help and be a comparison. So let's get on with that. So the 2 containers at the back there, I've actually just dug down, cut them off roughly above the roots, can't really tell, and then just covered them back over. Well, Dave was saying, well, they may struggle to work their way through the compost, seeking light, might rot off. So what I am going to do, his suggestion is to excavate the soil from around them and leave them so that the tips, the tops that we cut off are just showing, and then maybe earth them up afterwards if they grow. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. I ended up cutting the first one off. Yeah, didn't quite go low enough, but there might be enough there for it to do. So basically I've just cleaned round, hopefully found the bottom. It is difficult without damaging it too much, just cutting it off at the bottom, harvest that part of the root, and then yeah, you can perhaps see some of the tops there. So just see the comparison, see how they do. But I thought I'd just drop that one in while I could. So that concludes my little January harvest. It's surprising what you can get out of the allotment. Experiment, do this, do that, and eventually you can get yourself vegetables throughout the year. Fresh vegetables. I don't freeze anything, so it's fresh vegetables for me. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe. Don't forget the little bell. Thumbs up or thumbs down, we don't mind. Please leave a comment. Really do appreciate the comments. Happy gardening to you all. Till next time, my friends. Ta-ra for now.